All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another college video. I believe this is my second women's college video that is also connected to the WNBA draft. We're going to be talking about prospects. We talked about my favorite prospect last time in Lauren Betts from UCLA. This time, we're going to talk about a player that sort of confuses me and sort of I don't know how to read completely. Olivia Miles coming out of TCU. Was she 5'10"? Yeah, 5'10". We're going to talk about where she could possibly land. We're going to talk about her college season so far, what I think about her, and just a bunch of other stuff surrounding, her game and stuff like that. So if you like what I say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. So, Olivia Miles. I've heard this name for a really long time, and there's a whole story, at least from my end. I remember her. I remember watching her at Notre Dame, um, and she never really popped off the screen to me. And I think that's where a lot of people know her from, is her time at Notre Dame. And I just never, I never really got the vibe that like she was one of these top players, in whatever draft she could have came out last year. She was on some draft boards last year as well. Um, but she's definitely coming out this year, coming into the draft and getting drafted to a WNBA team this year. And in that happening, her leaving Notre Dame, her going to TCU, her sort of um, making her own path, getting away from Notre Dame, where Notre Dame has had like mixed success. Um, There was another player in the backcourt that played with her, Hannah Hidalgo, who I'm very high on, who I like Hannah Hidalgo a lot. I like her a lot more than Olivia Miles. But as I've watched Olivia Miles at TCU, I've grown to sort of understand her game a bit more. And some of the stuff that's said about her, I don't completely agree with because I'm sort of pessimistic about these types of players. But when I look at her game, and when everybody looks at her game, you see the passing, the floor leadership, and the control of the ball and the control of the game. And that's sort of a product of what TCU's offense is. It revolves around her, rightfully so. She's a great basketball player at the college level. I just don't know how well it's going to transfer to the WNBA. Now, if we get into some stats here, right? Some overall stats here. Um, Looking at her averages thus far this season, 20 points per game, almost 7 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 50% from field goal. If I could get a 3 point percentage on this, I'd like a 3 point percentage, please. 3 point percentage, 36. Not her best year. Um, but is it what? How many attempts is she taking though? She's taking slightly more attempts, same amount of makes. Um, the past 2 years at Notre Dame and at TCU. Um, she's been around this, hovering around 30, say conservatively 35 to 40 range. That's a huge improvement from her first couple years in college, where she shot 20, 20, 27, 22, on way less attempts. So she's taking more and she's making more, which is really good. Um, and I watched the game. I believe I was trying to look for this game and I couldn't find it, and then I finally found it. I believe it was against West Virginia. And when they played West Virginia, I'd watched a lot of I don't know, I say the word a lot, a lot. I've seen a fair bit of Olivia Miles, just like in the background, having the game on in the background, and just like watching. This was like the second or third time I really locked in and watched her. And they played West Virginia, who I don't even know who's on West Virginia at this point, um, or if they're nobody popped out on the screen from West Virginia. And I was watching this game, and I was watching her. I don't know if it was the coach or Olivia Miles herself. The offense was just so weird. It was so slow at times. It was so like monotonous, and it was like a slow death for um, West Virginia. And in this game, TC only won by 1 point. It was a close game, but it was a slow sort of death for West Virginia. And I was watching this game, and I was like, "What are they doing? Like, what's going on in this game?" um, and I really couldn't understand what was going on. By the way, small correction. They've played West Virginia twice. I had the wrong one up. It was still a close game, 59-50. I had the wrong one up. They played them twice last month. They played them once last month and once this month. Um, I was watching this game and I was like, what the hell is going on? And in this game, Olivia Miles did not have a great game. 12 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 3 turnovers, 5 for 11 from field goal. Did not make a single three. There's a game in here. Where they played Baylor. This is another freaking hitter. 10 for 20 from three. I don't know. That might just be a product of what's going on at Baylor. Baylor's been a downward spiral, but um, I just didn't understand it, and I didn't understand the offense they were running, and it hadn't felt like they had every time I had watched them before, it hadn't felt like they had run the offense like that, but this time they're running it like that, and I didn't love it. I didn't love it from Miles, and one of the bigger sticking points for Miles that a lot of people say, and I think this is very unfair to her, but people are like, oh, she plays like Chelsea Gray, she's gonna be the next Chelsea Gray, you know, and me as somebody who's in my time watching the WNBA has watched a lot of Chelsea Gray. I've watched Chelsea Gray for well, she's been in the league since 2014, so she's been in the league over a decade now. But I've legitimately watched Chelsea Gray for maybe like 6 or 7 years, and definitely um, since her arrival in Las Vegas in 2021. I've watched a lot of Chelsea Gray. I've seen the highs of Chelsea Gray. I've seen the lows. I've seen the good games. I've seen the bad games. And I hate when people do this stuff when they're like, this player could be X really great player. Because, like, Chelsea Gray, if you don't know Chelsea Gray, um, 6-time All Star, 4-time WNBA champ, 2022 Finals MVP, 3-time All WNBA. And if you say they play similarly, I could maybe get behind that. If you think Olivia Miles is going to be as successful as Chelsea Gray, I have my suspicions about that. And I hate when we do this stuff, and we're going to talk about draft comparisons here later in the video, because we've done that for almost every draft video I've done. But I hate when any college player plays like a player in the pro league, NBA, WNBA, and they're like, "Oh, this player plays like X or Y," you know, and it's like, and this is more of a specific one, or more of a specific related one, where like I hate when you have a really good college shooter who's a guard, like, oh, he plays just like Steph Curry. It's like, let's slow down. Let's slow down. Let's slow down. Let's not do that, because I've seen a lot of players come out of college and they're like Steph Curry, and then they end up not being like Steph Curry. Even like you look at it like a comparison of like at the time Trey Young to Steph Curry, that has not aged the best. I don't think Trey Young plays like Steph Curry. It is impossible to play like a great player. You have to find your own path, and I think Olivia Miles will find her own path. I just think the comparison of her and Chelsea Gray is just so like asinine. It's just so like, so she passes the ball and she scores a little bit, so she's automatically Chelsea Gray. It's like, maybe not. Let's like on the high end, sure. Her ceiling, maybe. Like, okay, cool, I can get behind that. But like, I don't know. Maybe it's just like the avenues that I'm listening to, these draft comparisons, and like the echo chamber that the WNBA can be on certain platforms, where it's like they just hype up all these prospects, like none of them are going to be busts, and it's like there are going to be some busts. They're just bound to be. That's the nature of the WNBA. Like I've watched so many WNBA drafts that have come and gone, and there have been really bad, really bad. They've been really good college players that just turned out to be really bad WNBA players, and same thing in the NBA. And there have been some. I've done a lot more NBA draft stuff. I've been really high on some some college players that come to the NBA and they're just bad. They're just ass. They don't move their game forward enough, or that they struggle with one aspect of the game, and the game and that part of the game is so much more underneath a microscope at the next level that you just can't get away with that stuff. And I'm not trying to insinuate this stuff about Miles, but to compare it to a great player like Chelsea Gray, at like any capacity is sort of like maybe let's reel it in a little bit. Let's be more realistic, you know. And I'm not saying don't have a ceiling, but I'm saying let's be more realistic with this stuff. Going through some of her game logs here, that I have up from her time at TCU, dating back to, well, beginning of this year, well, last year, but this season technically. um, she's had a couple hitters. She's had a couple bad games too. Um, they've For the program as a whole. Let me circle back over. For the program as a whole, this has been a great season, a phenomenal season for TCU as a program, and for Olivia Miles to go from a big school like Notre Dame to a sort of, I won't say smaller school because TCU is in the Big 12, but to go to sort of a lesser known basketball school. um, I give her a lot of credit for that and going on her own path and doing her own thing, and getting her draft stock up. I think that was the smart thing to do as well. I think their coach is very smart. And as a side note here, you might notice I have the their little mascot right there. I love this little thing, this little horn frog. I love this thing. This thing is so cool. It's so freaking cool. I love that thing. It's so cool. Um, anyway, moving back to her stats here. Um, had some really good games, had some really bad games. The losses. Let's see if can I click on these and get a. Oh, I can. Oh yeah, booyah. Okay, we're gonna collect all her losses here, or I'm not sure if I can do this. Hold on. Okay, so I've compiled a stretch here from because I've compiled a stretch here of wins and losses. They started the season off really hot. TCU did. They won a bunch of games in a row. Um, but then they took a loss, and then it's been sort of a mixed bag. And I want to give you the numbers on this mixed bag of games because this is probably more of what I want to say her stats will look like, but more of what I think she'll experience in the WNBA going to any given team that is getting a draft pick or is at the top of this draft. Probably a bit more losses than wins, if we're being more realistic, with where she's going to end up in the WNBA. Um, there's how many losses here? One, two, three, four. There's four losses here, and was this one, two, three, four, five, six, 6 to 7 wins. A mixed bag of games. A stretch dating back to the third of no, the 3rd of January, and then up till what is this? The 8th of this month, so 8th of February. So a varying bag. Basically a month, almost a month long stretch of games where it was a mix. So in those games, as an average, she averaged 21 points, um, 1.5 steals, 5 assists, 6 rebounds, um, 4.5 turnovers, 34% from three, which is down 2% from her season average this year, and field goal exactly 500, just 50% from field goal, and a combined 36 minutes and 104 minutes in total of that stretch of games. And yeah, this is probably more, I want to say more realistic of what she's going to do in the WNBA. Because I can't remember the last rookie that came in and averaged 20. Has that happened recently? I don't know. Might have happened. Um, but the most concerning thing about this stretch for me, and the obvious thing, is the turnovers. When you're under pressure, how do you react? I think is the big thing for Pat. For the sake of the comment, let's call Olivia Miles a pass first point guard. Let's just say that for the sake of the conversation, right? Um, how do you deal with pressure, and how do you deal with different defensive looks? Because the stuff you get away with in college, you're not going to get away with in the WNBA. You might get away with some trickery and some of the stuff in like the first couple weeks of the WNBA season, if it starts on time. But you look at these things and you're like, oh, I don't know. And then it also varying depends on where she goes in the draft, like what team she goes to. Do they have an established offense? Does she need to feed another star next to her? Is she, let's say, alone on a team? Is she alone on a team? You know, um, these are things I question, and I, I I think the hardest thing, and the only reference point you really have of a dominant guard. I mean, like we can go back to we can go back in a couple of these drafts. Like we can go back in some of these drafts, right? Even last year's draft. Um, and this might be an unfair comparison comparing Olivia Miles to some of these players because some of these players are obviously way better than Olivia Miles. They were way better than her in college. They're way better they're way better than her in the WNBA already. But just as a reference point for guards, for guards, last draft you had Paige Beckers, you had Sonia Citron, you had Georgia Amore who didn't play injury, Sinai Rivers guard technically, Haley Van Lith guard. How tall is Haley Van Lith? Wait a minute, is she 5'10" too? 5'9". Okay. Okay. um, and that's the top 12 right there for the guards, I believe. Paige Becker's adjusted well, but is a fair bit taller, I think, right? She's like 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot. Oh my God, she's 6 foot. Jeez, Paige Becker's 6 foot. Um, adjusted well. Sonia played very conservatively well. Like she didn't have any like real breakout like eye popping moments, but she was just consistent all season. Georgia Moore didn't play. Sinai Rivers on a bad team, you can't fault her for that. Haley Van Lith at a similar size. Haley Van Lith went to TCU the year before Olivia Miles. Um, 5'9" Haley Van Lith. Olivia Miles 5'10". Am I saying they're similar? No. Do I have defensive concerns about Haley Van Lith at the WNBA level? I was open and honest last year when I was doing this draft stuff, where I was like, I don't think Haley Van Lith's a WNBA talent. I just don't think she has any defining quality that makes her a WNBA talent. Um, and the size didn't help her in that regard. And Olivia Miles only being like 1 inch taller, that doesn't help on the defensive end either. You're gonna need to really have a defensive team around Olivia Miles at the next level. I think what they do at TCU, granted, Olivia Miles probably isn't being hidden on defense at the college level because you're guarding like some girl majoring in like psychology or something, like you know what I mean. So like it's not like Olivia Miles is gonna be asked to maybe guard Chelsea Gray, maybe guard Caitlin Clark, maybe guard Paige Beckers. Like she's gonna get tore up. Like let's be honest here. You know what I mean? Like let's be honest. Um, yeah, I think anybody. Like, how tall is Sonia Citron here? Let me see. 6'1". It's tough out there. When you're like 6 foot and below, it's tough. It's real tough out there. Let's do one or two more here, going through these past couple drafts. Obviously, 2024 draft. Caitlin Clark, um, the guard in that draft, the number one, the consensus number one pick. How tall is she? 6 foot. And Caitlin Clark isn't anything magnificent on defense either. I will say though, defense at any level is about, I'd say, 70% want, and like the other percent is like physical, like actually being tall and being strong and being like bigger, long, like wingspan wise and stuff like that. About 70% of it is want, and to Olivia Miles' credit, I think she wants it, which is the good part about her. Going back to my theory here, Caitlin Clark adjusted somewhat well to the WNBA. I mean, her first year was probably more successful than her sophomore year, so you take that with a grain of salt. Um, Jay Sheldon, sure. Um, this was not a guard heavy draft. Damn, where are these people? Wait, Wait. So like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent. So you got Caitlin Clark, Cam Brand, Camille. These are just the draft order. Yeah, Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brand, Camille Cardosa, Rickea Jackson, Jay Sheldon, Aaliyah Edwards, Angel Reese, Elisa Peely, and then like a bunch of people that I have they come over? Have they played? Have they played real minutes? Okay, sure. I guess yeah. Okay, sure. Some of these people have not come over yet, which is crazy. Um, let's do one more here. Let's do well. Let's start over. Yeah, let's do one more. That next draft is sort of unfair. Oh, wrong one. Oh, that the one the 2022 draft is kind of unfair because it's Ryan Howard and she's like 6'2". The outlier of this. And then for what draft it is, the 2023 draft, there was no consensus number one guard in this draft, but the number one prospect was Aaliyah Boston, one of my favorite players. And you know, you look at some of these names here, and one that really pops out to me is Zaya Cook from South Carolina, who went to the Sparks, and she just never worked out. 6'9", it's never worked out. Is she playing right now? Yeah, she played in Seattle, just never worked out. And I'm giving you guys an idea of where these smaller, quote unquote, smaller guards go and how they work out. And like, I'm not trying to shit on Olivia Miles, but I'm giving you guys the knowledge to make a what am I trying to say? I'm trying to give you guys the knowledge to make a an assessment of her, because again, Chelsea. To be fair, Chelsea Gray is 5'11", but Chelsea Gray is a dog on defense. She's been in the league a long time. Um, so like, if Olivia Miles ends up somewhere on the continuum of like of Chelsea Gray and like some like just regular guard, I think she's fine. Would I possibly select her in the top three, um, or even the second pick? I don't know. I have this thing up that was posted today on WNBA Reddit, and it is a whole WNBA mock draft database, the consensus top 60, and it has the highest rank and the lowest rank of some of these of all the 60 players, and the highest Olivia Miles has been on some draft boards is 2, and then the lowest she's been is 6. So if we take that knowledge, right? Take that knowledge and we look at what is projected to be the lottery or the draft order, um, going in order: Minnesota, Seattle, Washington, Chicago, Toronto. She could fall anywhere between there. I want to go through to end this video, um, and maybe not maybe we're gonna talk about where she'd fit best and where she would fit the worst, and then at the end we're gonna look at some more. At the very end, we're gonna look at some more draft comparisons that I've been saving that I haven't looked at yet. So maybe somebody way smarter than me can tell me um, what she's going to play like, or where her ceiling and floor could be. Um, Minnesota. Minnesota is a very interesting one. And if you would have asked me at the beginning of the season, and you might be able to find some videos where I say Minnesota should trade this pick. Um, Minnesota doesn't need a draft pick. Minnesota doesn't need a guard. They probably need a forward. Um, I vividly remember me saying maybe Lauren Betts could go here. Maybe they get another backup big. Because Betts is sort of not a full project, but like a mini project. You don't know fully how she's going to work out in the WNBA. Similarly to Miles, where you don't really know how well she's going to work out in the WNBA. With the stuff that has happened in Minnesota, on the court, I'm not talking about off the court, where Nafisa Collier, MVP runner-up, double ankle surgery. If the season starts on time, I don't expect Nafisa Collier to be 100%. I don't expect her to move like she used to. I'm not saying she's gonna be washed, but like double ankle surgery is a big deal, and like I don't think it's talked about enough. Um, One more very recent one that I remember a player having double ankle surgery is Chris Middleton, formerly of the Milwaukee Bucks when he had that surgery, and it effectively ended his prime. And he's still like an okay player, but like it effectively ended his prime getting that double ankle surgery. So I'm hoping that Nafisa will be different, but man, double ankle surgery is not great. So I'm giving you guys this prelude because I think it opens up the door for Minnesota to maybe play around with this pick and maybe say, we might not be off to the wonderful start we need to be at the beginning of this season, or it might even be a shortened season. We'll see what happens. Maybe we take Miles and maybe we say, we think Miles and Courtney Williams and whatever small forward they have at that moment, and Fisa Collier and Alana Smith is a good team. And maybe you look at Olivia Miles and say, well, she's not going to be asked to do everything, and the defensive issues that she might have are going to be covered up by Nafisa, by um, Alana Smith on the back end. Now, do I love a backcourt of Courtney Williams and Olivia Miles? Not particularly. Granted, I'm not the biggest Courtney Williams fan, so maybe I'm being biased, but like, I don't love that backcourt. I don't love it defensively. I don't love it matching up against bigger backcourts. And I don't love it ball handling responsibility wise. I think maybe Courtney leans more. Courtney definitely leans more into a scoring guard, and Olivia Miles could lean more into being a pass first guard, even at the next level. I don't know. Let me give it a grade. What would I grade that if that happened? Uh, Maybe like B plus with a question mark. I don't know. Moving on here to Seattle. This is the one I see everybody projecting her at. The ones that the mock drafts that I have seen. Um, uh, Seattle is an interesting one to me. I have lots of thoughts on Seattle as well. Um, Seattle's a place. There's a new coach there. New coach. Don't forget that. New coach, brand new coach. Never coached as a head coach before. Um, there's a lot of locker room stuff that you always hear about Seattle. Um, not blaming these people, but you got Skylar Diggins, you got Neka Agumake, you got these older players that I don't want to say you don't hear the greatest things about, because I can't confirm that, but the locker room has tentatively been toxic. You have reports of like players not loving it there in that locker room. That could just be like a clash of personalities thing. I don't know. I can only read reports and speculate on that. Um, I would say if I'm Seattle's GM, right? If I'm the GM, I respectfully say, Skylar Diggins, thank you for your service. There's the door. NECA, thank you for your service. Here's the door. We're going full rebuild. We're going full Dominique Malonga and Olivia Miles and whatever else young players we have. If Gabby Williams wants to stay, she can stay. She's a really great talent defensively, offensively. I'm still fairly young. Um, and I go into this new era. I personally I love a team of Olivia Miles, Gabby Williams, Dominique Malonga, and whatever other young players you have, right? I love that team. I don't, however, love a team of Olivia Miles, Skylar Diggins, Gabby Williams, NECA, and Dom. Maybe it could work. In my mind's eye, though, in my mind's eye, it smells like a disaster. It smells like too many cooks in the kitchen. I can visualize it, and I don't love it. Maybe I'm wrong for that. Maybe like I'm totally off base with that. But in my mind, I hate that. I absolutely hate it. Um, if I had to grade that version of the team, the one they have right now, plus Olivia Miles, I'd give it a C. I would be interested to see if it'd be a train wreck, and that's probably about it. Um, if it was just Dominique, um, Olivia, and Gabby, I'd give that like a B plus as well, closer to like an A minus probably. Yeah, I like that version of the team. Let them grow together. Let them play together. No offense. This is gonna sound. I almost said something really. I don't want some old, kind of player messing up my young player. Let the new coach. Don't. I don't want to hear your old opinion. I don't care. I don't care. Let these players play. I don't care. And Skylar Diggins could probably teach Olivia Miles a thing or two. Maybe I could get behind Skylar Diggins being there still, but Skylar Diggins is such like a ball heavy guard, and like NECA's like borderline MVP player. Like it would just take the ball out of Olivia Miles' hands, and maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want her to learn. I'll say this though. I am not wasting the third pick to bring a player off the bench. I want to make that very clear. I'm not wasting the third pick to bring a player off a bench. I'm not wasting any of these top picks to bring this player off a bench. Um, other teams here. At four, Washington. Washington has too many guards already. They still haven't seen Georgia Moore, who was their draft pick last year. Um, I want to see her. If you bring Olivia Miles in, it defeats the point of Sonia Citron. It defeats the point of Olivia Miles. I think Washington needs to take a big if a big's still on the board. And hey, maybe if Olivia Miles just slips down to here, maybe just take her anyway. But mm, I don't know. Again, too many cooks in the kitchen. I'd give that like a C minus. That'd be bad. I don't like that. Um, the next interesting one is Chicago. There's a lot going on in Chicago with their owner, with one of their owners, the majority owner, I think. The coach isn't the greatest. If anything, this might work. Like strangely, it might work because you would have a what would you have? You would have Olivia Miles, like what, like Courtney Vandersloot. Oh, actually, no, no. Unless Courtney's gonna come off the bench, which I don't think she would, and I don't want Olivia Miles coming off the bench, and I think those two women play too close like each other, Vandersloot and Miles. Ugh. Again, I'm making my like imaginary mind in my brain like if it's just Olivia Miles, Angel Reese and Camila Cardosa, I love that. That's an A. That's an A. That's an A. If there's the other stuff going on with the roster uncertainty and like the weird lineups, that's like a D. That's a disgusting D. Yuck. And the last one here, the most obscure one, which I think everybody would be surprised. Maybe if she has like an NC tournament meltdown, Olivia Miles, falling all the way to six with the Toronto tempo sitting right there. If Olivia Miles falls to Toronto tempo, it's a gift falling to Toronto. It's a gift. Um, we don't know any of the players on the Toronto tempo because we haven't had the expansion draft. So I can't tell you where she would fit in. But man, if she falls here and they have somewhat of a competent team and they can just let Olivia Miles go out there and ball, I'm in. That's an A minus for me. Just go out there and ball. um, and for those who do not know, the draft is projected. Hopefully, is in 53 days. So we'll see what happens here. The last thing I want to do here, very last thing, is I have some articles here that I haven't pulled up. Um, well, yeah, uh, I just want to sim this lottery. Let me sim the lottery. Let's see. Okay. So sorry, I had to do that. Can we do this? Wait, what am I doing? Ooh, okay. So yeah, I just simmed the draft, and yeah, like Miles went to Seattle. Sim it again. Ooh, okay. All right. Moving on. Sorry, I just wanted to click the button. I had to click the button on Tankathon. I had to do it. I want to look at her draft profile and do they have like a comparison um for her? Because like I don't love the Chelsea Gray comparison. I understand it. I understand where people are coming from. I completely understand it. I just don't love it. As somebody who's watched Chelsea Gray, I'm just like I've watched a lot of Chelsea Gray. Don't love it. Don't love it. Any any draft comparisons? Come on. Typed in draft comparison. I want a gosh darn draft comparison here. Does not seem anybody has a original take that is not Chelsea Gray. So, um, yeah, yeah, that's it. That's the video. Sort of an anticlimactic ending. I'm sorry about that. I wanted to surprise myself and look at some of these. Like maybe there's a draft comparison like that's original, that's new, but like I don't. Oh, okay. Wait. Okay, so here's something. Wait. So her statistical pedigree. This is from herhoopstats.substack.com. So comparing her college stats to WNBA players when they were in college, this is combining games played, minutes per game, assist percentage, usage percentage, effective field goal percentage, points per possession, and steals. She is up there with Courtney Vandersloot, Skylar Diggins, um, and a bunch of players I do not know. um, she's not anywhere near Skylar or Courtney, or yeah, Skylar or Courtney. She's sort of lingering down here in the bottom half, but she's on the list. Um, this isn't necessarily a draft comparison, but comparing the numbers college wise, Courtney and Skylar, I kind of I could kind of see it. I could kind of see it. I like. I think Skylar's a bit more athletic than Miles. Almost, Skylar's a bit more aggressively athletic. We'll put it that way. Well, Miles is athletic. Um, and then Courtney Vandersloot. I like that a lot better. I like that. I like comparing Miles to Courtney Vandersloot more than I like comparing her to Chelsea Gray. I think Chelsea Gray is a step too far. I think Courtney Vandersloot's right where she needs to be. I think that would be good. Yeah, this video is 37 minutes long. I did not expect it to be this long. Um, but yeah, that's it. That's my draft video for Olivia Miles, a player that I'm very skeptical on, and I will be watching very closely. This is the second in my women's side of the draft. Obviously, I've done a couple. I've done one more men's college one, men's hoops one. There'll probably be more in the coming weeks as we get into March Madness, as we do all that stuff. I do want to get my opinions out on these players before March Madness because everything can change in March Madness. I believe the next one for this version of it, the women's side of it, will be AZ Fudd. And then after that, don't hold me to this, it will probably be Awa Fam. So you guys will get a few more of these college videos for the women, for the WNBA, and all that stuff. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. Um, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers.